I'm so excited to be here today to tell you my story and the story of the girls that we serve. My earliest childhood memory was in first grade. I was jumping rope on the playground when I heard the taunts of kids making fun of my older brother, Robert. You see, Robert had Down syndrome. Isn't that adorable? And I don't know if you could tell, but can you tell? I felt like even though he was my older brother, I had to protect him. And so that day, I decided I was tired of kids bullying my brother, calling him dumb or retarded. And I knew Johnny was the ringleader, so I threw down my jump rope and I marched right over there, balled up my fist, and socked him square in the nose. Yeah. Blood was everywhere. And that was the last time he bullied my brother. When I think about that day, it wasn't the fact that I punched him that stopped him from bullying my brother. It was actually the fact that I did something. And today I'm fighting a much bigger bully. One of the biggest and darkest bullies walking our streets is a man bullying little girls. Outside this auditorium tonight, there'll be teenage girls bought and sold on our streets, over the internet, and through escort services. Tonight in Atlanta, there will be 100 girls raped for profit. 100 teenage girls. They'll be forced to sell themselves up to 10 times tonight. And their average age is 14. 14. And every girl that's ever walked into our therapist's office has told the therapist that the first time that happened to her was the last time she had hope for her life to be any different. In fact, she felt like she would probably die that way. And many of them do. Once lured into this dark world, girls rarely live more than 7 years. 7 years. I want you to understand what our girls have experienced, so I've asked some of my staff to tell you their story.
My best friend lived next door, and he'd always call me up to smoke weed with him. I'd known him since we were in diapers, but he'd started hanging out with some older guys recently. One day we ran out of weed, so we went to this white house, and there was a flower bed in front. As soon as we walked in and I met his friend, I felt weird and wanted to leave. But he grabbed my arm and told me to relax. They made me have sex with them. There was nothing I could do. And right after, they made me get in the car and we started driving. After a few days, I didn't recognize myself.
I started chatting with this really funny guy online. And when he wanted to take me out, of course I said yes. He treated me like a princess, paid for everything. We started hanging out all the time, and of course we started having sex. He even said he loved me, but my parents didn't understand, and we got in a huge fight about it. So I moved in with him. A couple months later, he said we didn't have money and he needed me to help. I could give head to a friend of his for $100. I didn't want to do it, but he said it wasn't a big deal. So I did, because I loved him. But then we needed more money, and he started getting angry all the time. After a while, it was all I did.
My mom never understood, so I left. As I walked out of the house, I heard her screaming after me. I just stood at the bus stop, crying. A guy walked up to me and asked, "What's wrong?" I thought, finally, somebody who cares. He said I could stay with him, but when we got to his apartment, he locked me in a closet with 5 other girls. We had a quota to meet. $2,000 a night to give to Daddy. That's what they called him. Man after man after man came in. They wouldn't look any of us in our eyes. Each morning he'd come in with donuts, but only if we met our quota. I remember him stroking my hair. "You did it for Daddy," he said. "I'm so proud."
I I can't stand this. Can you? Can you imagine your daughter or your niece or your granddaughter or your sister being lured in by this seemingly kind man and then tricked and sold night after night? Did you notice his routine? He pretended to be her boyfriend. He gave her expensive gifts and said just what a girl would want to hear. He even sometimes brands his name on her to say that he loves her, but it's really to let the girl and everybody else know that she belongs to him. I have to remind you that trafficking is a business. For every girl he has in his stable, he earns $250,000 a year. So no wonder he's all about getting product and keeping his product. In fact, we know girls who were not lured, but trapped, like Annie. Annie was 12 years old and went to a middle school party. Little did she know that these hot guys there were a gang of traffickers. One of them drugged her, and the next morning when she woke up, she was told she would have to sell herself. When Annie refused, the ringleader brought her a picture of her father's truck, the place where he lived, and the family home. And he said, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'll kill your dad. Well, when Annie was finally rescued, the FBI actually relocated her whole family because they took those threats so seriously. In fact, in the stories I'm telling you, I'm not giving their real names because the traffickers most times are not jailed. They're not prosecuted. They have to live their life wondering. But these are teenage girls who should be running track, playing soccer, practicing the piano, or going to cheerleading practice. But no, they're just a commodity. And who in the world would buy a teenage girl? Men. Their average age is from 37 to 55. Many of them are family men. I had a friend once that worked a face escort service, and he told me that he would get calls from men saying, I need an experienced Caucasian and a virgin African American. He told me there were men who would have parties, and they would order girls up like they were ordering a pizza. I need 4 African American, 3 Caucasian, 2 Hispanic, and 3 Asians. Some experienced, some not. Just mix them up. Are you kidding me? This is so much deeper and meaner and intolerable than I can even imagine. It's like the way we order food off a menu in a restaurant is the way they order little girls. They don't care about their lives. Sex trafficking is a very ugly subject. But I have to tell you that it's not a subject without hope. You see, because for the last over 12 years, we have seen girls survive. We believe they're survivors. In fact, not only do they survive, they can thrive because they have survived the most horrific experience of life. They have to be smart and they have to be resilient. So I want to tell you a story about Emily. See, Emily was made vulnerable because someone, when she was in elementary school, raped her. And she was vulnerable to this trafficker. Well, by the time she got to the age of 15, she had already been trafficked all over Metro Atlanta. And she came in our doors and she was not happy. She did not want to be there. She did not believe therapy would work because she had had some therapy and it didn't work. But what was great is she got to work in therapy with Miss Dion, and she did therapy so differently. Like she was building a relationship, building trust, doing interactive activities. And before long, Emily noticed that she was getting better. And that there were things she was really good at, like school. She didn't even know she was good at school. But because we have a program where they can work at their own pace, she could make up credits in record time. In fact, she was going so fast at the age of 15 that by the time she was 16, she would almost be ready to graduate high school. So we kind of had to hold her back. Like the coaches had to hide her books because every free minute she was working on school. I'm good at this. I'm going to do it. See, they're smart girls. Well, she finished the program and went to a regular high school and graduated high school. And I have to tell you, Emily's 16 now, and she's in college. She wants to be an accountant because she's really good in math. Or she's even thinking about being a nurse because she really wants to help girls. You see, there is hope. Emily is not the exception. Every girl that walks through our door is a hero of hope to me. And they can heal. Their minds can heal. Their bodies can heal. Their brains can heal. With the right education and the right therapy and the right environment, there is great hope. But not every girl gets this opportunity. And that's why she needs you and me. Like, you may not know this, but I plan to be a kindergarten teacher all my life. I love to sit on the floor and read stories to my kids. And every story I read had a happy ending. But everything changed for me the day I met our first survivor. When I realized that her story was not going to have a happy ending, I couldn't live with myself. And I started thinking about all my friends, like, I don't think they know this dark world exists. So I gathered them all together, mostly stay-at-home moms and their families, and we created this place of safety and hope. We reached out to professionals to help create a holistic program. And our passion for one girl has now helped hundreds. But the reality is that there are hundreds of girls in Georgia and literally thousands across the United States that still need help from us. Maybe you have noticed, but the girls that we serve are girls who were born in the United States. Like, they're in your malls. They're in your schools, and I guarantee you they're in your neighborhoods because we've seen girls from all over our area come through our doors, and they need us. In fact, the need is so great that there are 100,000 children who were born in the United States who will be sexually exploited this year. And I don't know about you, but to me, that's intolerable. We can't let that happen in a place where we talk about freedom. We have to be involved. And I just think about this group here, and it reminds me of a quote that has meant so much to me. And maybe you've heard this quote before, but I don't want it to just go over your head. I want you to let it soak on you, because I want you to think about what Margaret Mead said. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that can. And you know, that's what I think you and I are. I mean, you wouldn't be here if you weren't a thoughtful group of committed citizens. And I believe that we can change the world of sex trafficking in America. You want to know how? I think we can do that by protecting and restoring. So I want to challenge you to think about a girl in your life, someone that's close to you. I want you to tell her her potential, pour value into her. That keeps her from being vulnerable to a trafficker. And then I want you to think about the Sallys and the Monicas and the Jennifers out there that does not have someone that's going to protect them, that's not telling them how beautiful they are. And you need to be a voice in her life too. And I certainly don't want you to forget the survivors. Oh my goodness, they have so much potential, and we want them to reach their potential, don't we? And so I want to ask you to get involved. Be a voice. Tell this story. Get involved. Help us. Help more girls. Because quite frankly, we're a small group of committed citizens. We're a community in this room. But you are the one that can go back to the community where you live and do this and engage your community to join us, because together We can change the world of sex trafficking in America. Together, we can make a difference so that every girl has the opportunity to reach her potential and be all she was created to be. And I want you to join me, and I believe you will. Thank you so much.